Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast, where we interview everyone from James Beard award-winning chefs to local mixologists, winemakers, breweries, and so much more. We've got an awesome episode lined up for you today. But before we get into that, head to atasteofaz.com so you can subscribe to our quarterly magazine and email newsletter to find all of the best places to eat and drink around town. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Now let's get into the episode.
That's great.
All right, man. We are on Bethany Home. I'll be honest with you, man. I've been fanboying for a little while now, so I'm stoked to be here.
That's awesome. Thank you for saying that. Thank you so much.
Well, I mean, it was just the font of the brand alone just kind of drew me in. I really like that. And then when we featured you guys in I think it was like the Best Burgers issue, I was looking through and I was like, dude, what is this? He's like, oh, dude, that's Aftermath. That's the burger. I'm like, it's been on I don't know why I haven't been here, man.
Oh, wow.
I'm a little disappointed in myself.
Well, if you stayed long enough, you probably could just hang out here the rest of the night.
I know. I would be here the whole night too. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens for sure. Trust me.
Well, Charles Barber, dude, thanks for having us in, man.
Thank you.
When I walked in today, me and Rachel from our team, she was already here. She got here a little bit earlier than I did. And I came in and I think it was Outkast playing.
Yep.
And like, it was your entry music. It even said Charles. I was like, dude, this guy's got his shit straight. Absolutely.
I know. That was just perfect timing, actually. But yeah, we play so many different genres of music here. It's just fun. So.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful space, man. Like I've driven by this so many times because where we have our magazines, it's at like Bethany Home and Central. Bill Fessler, he owns a publishing company. He's been just great resource for us. And so we store all of our magazines in his garage.
Nice.
So I'm making this trip all the time. And I always drive by and I'm like, man, like they're not open for lunch because I'm an early guy, but that's all right. That's not a shot at you guys. You guys do what you do. And
we'll be doing lunch soon. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah, okay. Finally. We've had a lot of requests for it, but we just launched brunch a little bit ago, and that's been really fun. Good turnout. So I think lunch is our next thing for sure.
Is this your guy over here? Is this Mike?
Oh, this is Mr. Michael.
Mr. Mike. Mike, you going to join us?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Perfect timing, man. We just got started. All right. So we're on Bethany Home. Dude, I've driven by this place many of times. Our publisher, not our publisher, but our guy that kind of guided us through publishing our beer book and this magazine, he's right down the street. So I'm always going and picking up our magazines. I drive by this place all the time. I'm fanboying a little bit. Mike, I was telling Charles this a little bit ago, and that burger, I mean, the burger just kind of stands out to me.
I mean, it's one of the best.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about it's so simple, but yet so great.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not the first. I'll just say that.
Well, I haven't had it. Like, that's the thing. I haven't even eaten it. This is just from the food porn visuals of it. You know?
We're going to have it delivered to you now. Just
sweet.
So you know.
I got to make it up because I drive by and it's always, around lunchtime and which we'll get into that, but I think you guys are working towards that. But no, I appreciate you guys having me in. And
we're so excited. Thank you.
Dude, this guy's all branded out. Like he's got the hat.
Oh,
and the
I'm
shirt.
swagged out. I know. I need like a little flyer thing on the side of the road, just going like,
like the Vegas strip club. Just passing out, tapping the little hand things.
Don't know anything about that, but
from what I've heard,
from what I've heard, they do that. Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for having us in. I was excited to feature you guys in the magazine. I mean, that was a while ago now. I think it was a year or two ago.
Yep.
So to get you guys on the podcast and to get you on board for the book that we're doing, super excited. I think this is the beginning of a wonderful relationship.
Yes, absolutely. We're excited for the book for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. It's going
really
good.
Excited.
We're getting close. So if you guys are watching this or listening to this, we're looking at fall, early winter, holiday release for our book.
Oh, great.
It's going to feature Aftermath.
Great timing.
Love it. I love it. So let's introduce yourselves. Let's start with this gentleman over here. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah. So my name is Mike Bunker. I am a partner here with Aftermath and Born and Bred, our newest concepts. I've been in the restaurant industry, since I was 17 years old.
Okay.
I was a food runner for the Bamboo Club, which was they started as a mom and pop restaurant group, but then sold to a company called Main Street in Maine, which was the TGI Fridays group.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I was their corporate trainer, food runner. And I taught a bunch of older guys how to run food properly at 17 years old. And
dude,
I've just never been the one to, everyone always asks, what are you going to do when you grow up and get older? Yeah. And I've just always wanted to be in the restaurant business, and look at where we are now.
Yeah. So good guy to have on your team.
Oh, man. The best. Yeah, absolutely the best.
And you are?
Charles Barber. Same thing. Started working in restaurants at 15 for Tony Roma's in Mesa. Oh. Shout out to Mesa.
Yeah.
Same thing. Busser, food runner, dish pit, you name it, did it all. And then same thing, just kind of further, going with Zitejas, opened that one up in Ray Road and I-10 back in the day.
Okay.
When Ahwatukee was just hot and popping.
Yeah.
And then worked in Old Town and did stuff, and then went to Zinc Bistro eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to get into,
And that's actually how we met.
You guys met at Zinc. Okay.
Zinc Bistro.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I know that there was that lineage. I know there was some relationship there. And then I went to the bathroom before we started, and there's the Zinc Bistro picture up on the wall. I love that.
They're in all the locations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where you guys met. But let's back up a little bit. Are you guys both from Arizona?
I'm not born and raised, but I've lived here since I was 10. So I always say that, yes, I'm from Arizona.
I would consider
that. You consider that.
For
right?
sure.
Yeah, I would think so.
Not a seasonal person.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I figured if you went to middle school and high school here,
agreed.
You're in.
Agreed.
Like, yeah.
I agree.
Like my business partner, Luke's always like, he's like, I'm not from Arizona originally, but he moved here when he was like 3. I'm like, you are.
Oh,
dude.
yeah. You are.
You count. You count.
Yeah. I moved here when I was 28. So like, I'm not originally from here, right? I grew up in Ohio, and I'm happy to be in Arizona. I'll say.
Yeah. I was going to say, I agree.
Let's start with you, Mike. What was the path? Like, did you have, before you kind of got into the restaurant scene, I always like to ask people, was there a path? Like, did you want to be an astronaut or pro athlete, or did you have a direction?
I guess, my dad is in the golf business. He was a golf instructor and ran a worldwide golf school company.
Okay.
Nice. So actually I started working at his golf schools in Mesa at Painted Mountain Golf Course. And I was 15, just working summers.
Okay.
And it was a tipped position. So it was a 3-day golf school, and every 3 days you would get an envelope with tips and cash. And as a 15-year-old, I was like, oh my gosh, this instant gratification is amazing. And
you don't even have to go to the bank to cash it or anything.
Oh man. Yeah. And I was making a lot of money for a 15-year-old. Yeah. And I just was like, you know what's another job where you can get tips? And the restaurant industry just kind of fit. And so, I went from, the expediter food runner to thinking, okay, now what's the most money you can make in this tip position? And it was bartending. And so I always wanted to bartend. So in Arizona back then at 19, you could bartend. And so I was in the ear of my bar manager every day. I want to bartend. Please teach me how to bartend. I want to bartend. And I promised 6 months. He was like, okay,
God,
stop. Just I'll let you bartend. And so I did. I bartended at 19, and again continued the path of where's the most money as a bartender you could make. And that was back then was the nightclubs in Old Town Scottsdale. And so there was only a couple of nightclubs. I had a family friend who was associated with Marley's Sports Bar.
Okay. Yeah.
And he was a manager at Marley's at one point, but then got into the EEG group, which was Axis and Radius, Mist, Suede nightclubs, all those nightclubs down there. And I actually got a job with Mist nightclub as a bartender, and I've just kind of stuck with it. And on the side, Mist was only open 3 days a week. It was only Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And so I actually got a secondary job at Zinc Bistro to fill up the rest of my days. So it was kind of weird because it was like a nice French cuisine and then nightclub.
Yeah.
And I mean,
polar opposite.
It was great because all the guys that I worked with all would come see me on the weekends after they got done working at Zinc.
Yeah.
And I mean, we just, created a good friendship through that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because you've heard of people being driven by money, right?
Right.
Specifically tips, though. You're the first one I've heard.
Yeah.
Like everything's been driven, but that's a very good point. Like that's cash, and that's like you said, instant gratification.
Well, in restaurants, you are in control really of your tip money.
Yeah.
Your attitude, your education, your knowledge of the building, the experience you give the guest. I mean, you are in full control of how much you could potentially make.
Yeah.
And I always liked challenges and games, and I always wanted to be the best. And so I was like, ooh, I'm going to be the best bartender I can be. And I got recognized for that. I started managing and eventually started getting opportunities to gain equity in restaurants. And I guess the rest is kind of history.
Now this is the pinnacle. You're on a
Yeah.
Taste of AZ podcast. Dude.
Right.
Like it all,
it's all come to this moment.
Yes.
Exactly. He's out of here after this, man.
I know. He's going to be in New York City running
exactly
the city.
What about you, Charles? So what was the goal for young Charles?
I hated school.
Okay. All right.
For everybody, stay in school, go to college, but it just wasn't for me.
I disagree.
I don't stay in school.
Don't stay in school. School's worthless.
Now, yeah, I can say that now for sure. But I just was a horrible student, and I didn't see myself being like an attorney or a doctor or anything like that. It was either like construction or working with my family, and obviously same thing as him. You get an opportunity in the restaurant business, and that instant gratification and then notoriety and this, that, and the other kind of led me to just do the same kind of path as him, where it went from like restaurant to restaurant to restaurant. But I spent a lot of years at all the restaurants. I never really,
me too. I didn't jump around a lot.
I was at Zinc for 15, 16 years straight.
Okay,
that's like, your entire adult life. And, and then after I had helped build the Mission in Kierland with Zinc Bistro and Mission.
Yeah.
It was a year-long process of bartending at night and doing construction in the daytime with those guys. And I just kind of sat there and went, I could do this. I should do this.
Yeah.
And I had plenty of friends that worked at Zinc as well, other chefs in town and stuff like that we all had been plotting for years. Like, when we get out of here, when we get out of here, we're going to get our own spot.
It's a thing in the restaurants. Like you always just want to do it for yourself.
Yeah. And this, obviously looking back now, the things that we pushed back on are the things that we represent now, which is kind of funny. Like I hated end times and this, and we did it. But now that we're owners, it's just all those things were so important that I was same thing with school. I just pushed back on it. And now as an owner, you're just like, oh, like these things are the most important. Right. Thank you for teaching me that for sure. So,
well, like the previous jobs I had, like software and task, you come to work and you have all these tasks. I'm like, dude, I just want freedom.
Yeah.
Right. And then we started doing this. I'm like, shit, dude, I need a system to
to
manage all my tasks.
Yeah.
So now I'm using all of these things that I used for years that I hated and I wanted to get away from. And now they're some of the most valuable assets that we have, like our CRM and communication strategy and all of that, where it's like, all right.
I get it.
Good job, university.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
And it's funny too, because at that time too, you go, I just want to work for myself. So I have all this freedom, all this free time. Stick with where you're at.
Yeah.
Because being an owner is, being an owner is.
Yeah. I've said that before too. I've realized on this end of ownership versus if you were just a bartender, we've said this 100 times, that probably the best job in the restaurant is not the bar manager, just a bartender. You just go in, do your job. You have the ability to control your money pretty much. If you want more education on your spirits or your education on the food, give good guest experience. You kind of, you control your own wealth.
Yeah.
But you don't have the responsibility of managing other people.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is building relationships. You don't realize that the person across from you, it could be Joe Schmo, or it could be the president of Xerox.
Oh.
And next thing you know, your cell phone is filled up with these powerful, great people that one day you're going to need to help push something along. So,
and they can probably tell ambition too, right? They can see that.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Yeah. We've worked with a lot of people that they can spot who the person is for sure.
Yeah. So you guys met at Zinc, and I've heard, it's a legendary spot, right?
Legendary,
so what made because we had Matt Carter on the podcast and dude,
The best.
he blew me away.
He is the best.
He's the best.
Like he was like him and Christopher Gross were like a couple of the people where I'm like, this is a different type of human being.
Yeah.
Different type of human being.
Yeah.
Matt, to this day, I've told him this before, but if he ever asked me to come back and work with him, I would do it in a heartbeat. I love Matt to death. He's one of the best people.
Yeah.
I'm a golfer, and I've always said this too. He plays golf, and if I could create my favorite foursome, he would be in my foursome.
Yeah.
He's just that
yeah.
cool of a guy.
And just interesting.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah. Loves guns, loves hunting, and
Yeah.
just just his brain alone with the kitchen and food and stuff is just insane. So
Yeah, a lot
I
of
would-
respect for him.
Yeah, I'd go camping with him in a heartbeat
Yeah,
too. So
a lot of
if
respect.
Matt
You're
hears
gonna go
this,
golfing you're gonna go camp
we're
with
gonna
him.
go golfing and camping, please. So call us.
Matt, I want to eat with you. all
Yes.
right? So yeah.
That too. Yeah, he'll cook while we're doing all
Right?
that stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So what was it about? I mean, obviously you got Matt at the helm of this place, but what do you think kind of made? Because to me, kind of before I started all of the, because how long has Zinc been there? It's been a
23
plus
years.
yeah. So before I even started all like, because I started a beer podcast in 2016, so that was my first like foray into this industry. Like when I moved out here from Ohio, like I wanted to work in the industry. I wanted to be a bartender to just kind of meet people my age. Same thing, just kind of make some quick money. Could use my personality to it was just I didn't know anybody out here, so I'm like, this is a perfect industry for me. I mean, I went to Buffalo Wild Wings, so that was a little different story, right?
Secretly, I think we all do sometimes.
Yeah. But going to Zinc Bistro or going to the Scottsdale Quarter or Kierland, it's Kierland. I always get them mixed up. My wife's like, that's Kierland. I'm like,
I know. I just say it's
the
all
same thing.
Kierland.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's Scottsdale Quarter, but
Yeah.
it's all Kierland, I say.
But it's so like kind of unassuming, right? It's nice. It's a beautiful spot, but you just kind of walk by it, right? You'll see people on the patio and it looks like a beautiful spot. You don't realize how much of an iconic place
Yeah.
that is. So what was it so what do you think it was about it that kind of created all of these? I mean, was it Matt alone or was it the team he built around him?
I think it was. It's one of my
There's-
mentors. Is
yeah.
Terry. Terry's the one who kind of created it.
I'll say
Okay.
this: that staff, what all of those people could have started their own restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, they were
Yeah,
all
hands
just.
down.
It was an all-star crew of people. They
Yeah.
all cared about the business. It's something that I've always tried to instill in our staff is I don't expect them to care as much as I care, but just care this much.
Sure.
And we'll get further along. And I just felt like Zinc was one of those groups of people that any one of them could have started their own business if they
Yeah.
wanted to. They were just that good of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but look at all the chefs that have come and gone. I
Oh
mean,
man.
from the early days, half the chefs are in New York City owning their own restaurants.
Wow.
You got Rochelle, you got Dom.
Yeah.
Hussein's off doing
Yeah.
his thing. I mean, there's just a list goes
But
on
and that's
on
a testament to Matt.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Sure.
he was a good leader. And I mean, that area, you had the right recipe, right? You had a good chef, you had a good area to do it in. The concept was one of a kind for that
Yeah.
time frame.
Yeah.
And they just did the right things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no real secret to success for a restaurant.
And they have staff
And
that's been there 20,
Yeah.
22 years.
They'll never leave.
Yeah.
They'll never leave until that place is either burnt down
Yeah.
or sold, and I don't think it's being sold ever.
No.
So
That's
I don't see
incredible.
that.
That's cool, man. It's cool because I feel that I mean it's this industry here and I'd say if the metro area specifically is just kind of really kind of gaining its stride and really making a name for itself. And I look at that like Matt and Zinc specifically as like kind of a centerpiece to that.
Yeah.
You know?
You'll see a lot of restaurants come and go over the next probably 5-10 years, but those I hate to say anchors in the industry. I mean, they're going to be around forever. I mean, look
Yeah.
at Durant's for God's sake.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and Durant's is great, but there's something about it that you go like Coach House. You know, you can just list off a bunch of places that have been around for 20, 30 years, and you just go, I got to go there. I got to go back. I got to, it's part of their routine. So
For sure. Yeah. So how did you guys meet? Like you were bartending at Zinc and
So I have an older brother who was friends with the bar manager at Zinc Bistro, and I just needed a part-time job. Again, I was already bartending at the nightclub, so needed a part-time job, and I did only a random Thursday here and there. And then I did Sunday mornings, and Charles was one of the more established bartenders there. But again, our bartending staff those years, man, it was some really heavy hitters.
Yeah.
I mean, good guys.
Great. I like to say barmen.
Yeah.
Like bar people.
Like,
they weren't just like mixologists.
No.
It was just service first.
I mean, all service.
Yeah. I mean, looking back at the days of just having 2 or 3 rows of people in a full bar and people just standing, just waiting to get a seat and just going, man, this is heaven. Like,
well, and I mean, we just had similar ideas. And we had similar, points of view on service. And it felt like a good match. And even though we didn't partner up until just recently, we talked about it for years that we were going to do something together and put a business together. So.
Yeah. And I know years ago I'd spoke with, a previous partner of mine. Like sadly, I'm a dreamer. He always has to bring me back down to earth.
I know that feeling, dude. I was telling you a story earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So
dude, why can't we do this? Like, do you know how hard that is?
Yeah. He's the guy. I go, let's
guy.
build an arch here. I can't do that. But I wanted to create this like super team, because I sat there and went like, if we're going to do 5-6 restaurants, let's get everybody we know together. At the time, there's a lot of egos and just, it'd be you and me only, and this kind of thing. And I just wanted to be part of with everybody. And at some point, I've worked with quite a few people now from Zinc, and now obviously partnering up with him as well. It's like, it's kind of like a match made in heaven. I love it. So
what's the people, right? I mean, that's what it's. That's my grandmother owned our town restaurant, and if people listen to every episode, they're probably like, "Dude, we heard about your grandma's restaurant." But it's like, this is I've never had this conversation with you guys, right? So it's relevant. So listeners, I'm sorry if but she always said that. She said that like the people are they'll make or break you. Yep. Like it's hard. And we were in a small town, so it was harder to kind of fill positions, and I mean, it was a really a big point of stress for her, but she was like, it's all about the people. And there's so many conversations that we have, like, talking with Armando, we did a podcast with him yesterday at Casino and that's what he said. He's like, dude, we have our core people that have been with us, that we know that when shit hits the fan, like, they got our backs. Right? Sometimes they're like, get out of the way, we got this, like, we're better handled to, so I love that you had that dream to make this dream team.
I think just recently now, I can say probably in the last little bit, we actually finally have like our core team. Like, we can actually, like, we're expanding now even more than what we're doing right now. And we actually feel comfortable, because like we had the means to do it, or we had the ideas. It's just, we didn't feel comfortable going, it's hard to explain, but you just don't feel comfortable just to keep growing. And at this point, I think we actually have what we're looking for, our dream team.
Well, you can only get so big with limited amount of people. Like,
for sure.
I don't know how else to put it. You if you're going to grow and you're going to continue to get better and better, you need the right people in the right positions. I think that's the success of restaurants, and that's also the failure of restaurants is that if they have the right people or not. I couldn't agree with your grandmother's place.
And you can see businesses that we've worked for, including our own, where you've had moments where it's a tidal wave because you've lost certain people and you're trying to, regain the step and kind of pivot in those moments. But it's a wild ride, and I love it. I think right now we're doing exactly what we should be doing. So
I got a question. I just kind of thought of this question. It's kind of it's a tougher question. I usually don't do the tougher questions, but
hit us.
How do you prepare for that? Right? How do you prepare for it? Because if you have this person who they're the numbers person, and you're like, holy shit, like like Rachel, right? She does sales for us and she kicks ass. And I tell her all the time, like, you can't leave us. Like, So how do you in this industry? How do you prepare for that?
I think, to be honest, Charles, one of his best skill sets is that he works really well with his back against the wall. If something needs to get done, he gets it done. And so regardless if he's unqualified to do numbers per se, or if he's unqualified to, I don't know,
cook on a Friday night.
He'll figure out a way to get it done. And surprisingly enough, probably better than most. That's, I think, one of the better skills that he's got is that he just works well under pressure. And I think that's something that you gained, I gained with bartending too, is you kind of learn that skill.
There's two of us. We're going to do $25,000 tonight.
Oh,
let's go.
Yeah. Like, okay. Oh, you got triple sat. Oh, you've got a bunch of tickets in your well. That's, 15 tickets deep. You got 3 people at the bar that all want hot tea. Like,
I think that's like what he said. I think that most of the time I'm not good playing up 30.
Okay.
I like being down 2.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, I just like anybody, you just kind of get comfortable, and I just don't like, I like being uncomfortable. I hate to say it like that, but, and obviously, like he just said a second ago, I tend to close my eyes and dream something and go, and then he brings me back down to reality and goes, okay, how are we going to X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C? Oh, okay, Mike, let's walk through it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's doable. Let's do it. But let's figure out the right approach than just throwing the paint against the wall and starting to, use the stick or whatever.
Yeah. Brush. I don't think you can really plan. I mean, there's not really I think the best way to put it is like, he and I are both so prepared to do any position that if it comes down to it, we end up doing it. You know what I mean? So I think that's the very, very last line of defense is that we'll just step in. But
ask my wife. Yeah, she went 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, 6 a.m. Where are you going? What are you doing? I'm like, hey,
well, that's the foundation, man. That's the core, right? Like when you guys lead with that, like the people that jump on board, they know, they know that you have their back,
right?
And also it's, I mean, that's, people have asked like, man, you guys have come really far from just doing a podcast to now a magazine and a book and a festival.
Awesome.
And they're like, well, how'd you do it? I'm like, I just didn't quit, I guess.
Yeah.
It just stop.
Everything fell in line.
Yeah. And you said, like you said, it's a roller coaster. Sometimes you're like, shit, man, this is great. Yeah. You know, the storm's coming, right?
Yeah.
Something's coming.
Yeah. We always say February, you're just wearing your crown, and July, you're wearing your apron. You're going, reality check. Here we go.
Yeah. Well, so how did the, actually before we we'll get into that, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors.
A real quick reminder, head over to atasteofaz.com and subscribe to our email newsletter. Also, subscribe to A Taste of AZ magazine and get it shipped right to your door. Now let's get back into today's episode.
So, we're back. So, we Aftermath. So, how did the idea for this? Because you had launched it yourself.
Yeah. I had a minority partner, my old chef, Dave Bowman, who I love him to death. Haven't talked to him in a while, but just he was a backbone for this place too. He helped recruit. We recruited a great kitchen staff with Johnny Sanchez and Will Badene and Esau and Ian and Will Sherman, and just we opened up almost too heavy. Like we were ready to open up 5 restaurants. Okay. I mean, like we looked in the kitchen. We were only open 5 days a week. I'm like, we have basically 4 executive chefs working here. This is crazy. But I had left my previous restaurant, and hence the name Aftermath. It was just it was a good departure, and I love their brands, and I support them 1,000,000%. But Aftermath was kind of coming out of COVID. I had just gone through a divorce, and I love 90s hip hop, and Aftermath just kind of felt like the right fit for the concept. And this place, this location in per se, I had wanted to open our previous restaurant here.
Okay.
And I actually got taken some money from the previous person. I'm not going to say it, but so it was actually like a full circle that the landlord had called and said, hey, this space is available. We'd love for you to put a concept here. And I was like, this is perfect timing.
Yeah.
I'm leaving this venture. I'm going to be starting a new one. And Aftermath was just, as soon as I said it, I went, oh, this is our brand. This is going to be our brand forever. So
I didn't even put the Aftermath of Dr. Dre.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm an old school, the original Chronic and
dude,
all that stuff. So
that's
it's
my era too.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because we have Tupac painting in here from, Chef Steven Contreras that he did, and a bunch of other artwork.
Yeah.
And we wanted to kind of represent kind of not a music venue, but a music vibe.
Sure.
And I think that when people are coming in, and we kind of did this at the previous restaurant I did, where we were so busy and people were listening to Queens of the Stone Age, and 80-year-old ladies, 70-year-old ladies just kind of bobbing their head. And it was just like, okay, I like this. I can go a different route with this. And it just kind of I don't know, transpired to what we're doing right now.
So music was a key piece, like the kind of the even if it was just like the inspiration or the muse or whatever, it was.
Yep, I'm doing guitar lessons right now.
Are you?
Nice. Yeah, at 43. So
hell yeah, dude.
It's never too late.
So I just learned something.
Yeah. You
guys gonna start doing open mic nights, Mike.
Right.
I don't know if you knew that yet.
Yeah. Well, we're doing live music at the other restaurants that we have. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, why guitar and not turntables or something?
That's not my vibe. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I won't go there. But yeah, I'm more of like a acoustic guitar, electric guitar,
Dude,
90s hip hop.
You are. So I'm 45. So we're same age. So that was the era of like 90s hip hop, but also like good rock music.
Oh,
too.
I'm a
like
huge 90s grunge guy.
Yeah.
Like you go to my truck right now, and it's. I mean. You name it. You could probably just name anybody, and they're playing.
You got Days of the New tape in the.
You know what's funny is I wish I still had a CD player because I still have my books of mixed CDs that I made from Tower Records and stuff. Like,
that's awesome.
I know. I wish I had it, but
I think we have the best taste in music. Our era has the best.
by
and
far.
movies too.
And movies.
All of the stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's hard trying to convince the younger clientele or younger demographics that.
Right.
Tommy Boy? I've never seen Tommy Boy?
Oh yeah.
Black Sheep? Wedding Crash? Nothing?
My daughters love that shit. They love, like, they're 10 and 12. We've watched Tommy Boy, Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, Dumb and Dumber.
The best.
Yeah. My daughter loves, like, she's like, why didn't you ever show me more of Red Hot Chili Peppers? I'm like, I've been telling you for years how amazing they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's digging it. So
That's
Oasis, like, she was like, hey, did you hear Oasis doing like a reunion tour?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's going to last about 2 shows.
2 shows.
Right.
So go to the first one.
Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah, they're going to do one reunion show.
So no, I like that. I like that was like, because for me, I'm huge on music. I mean, really, the original podcast that we did was I did a music podcast and was just talking about all kinds of different types of music. And I would cut clips of music and bring it in. Like we talked about cover songs. I'm like, oh, hey, did you know All Along the Watchtower wasn't actually a Jimi Hendrix song? And then I would play like the Dylan version or something.
Oh yeah.
If we had got popular, we would have got sued or something, like copyright infringement.
For sure.
But the music has always been a big piece of just kind of who I am. So I love the fact, I mean, when we walked in, the music you were playing was great. Just you got the Beastie Boys up here, you got the Kurt Cobain. I love it. So I told you before I was fanboying, like I'm really hardcore now. Yeah.
But I feel like music can transport you with experience. If you're on a date, if you're with just a buddy, I think that it makes everything better. It makes the food, makes your cocktail better. I think it's just such a key component. And we spend a lot of time.
We talk about music a lot. And I know that it's strange to say that in a restaurant, but there's so many little pieces of a restaurant that need to be on point, and music is definitely one of them. It has to be on point.
Especially volume level. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Volume level, the style of music that you're playing. I mean, all of that is so important. What time of the night
you're playing it.
Right.
Yeah. You can come in here and you'll listen to Sublime at 4:00 and you might have, like I said, a Outcast playing at 9:15 because it's different demographic in here, and it just fits the scene for where you're at in that night. So it's cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, when you go to a place, you can tell. If you're a music lover, you can tell when they put intention into the music. Like you can tell, like going to Arizona Wilderness downtown, like the downtown location, dude, that music is, and they put a lot of thought into that. And I'm like, dude, what is this? I'm pulling up Shazam.
Right?
Like, this is badass. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm like, what is this?
My wife's talking to me and I'm, still talking to her. And she's like, oh my God.
We were just had a meeting at our Scottsdale location 2 days ago. And I was sitting in the restaurant and I'm like, oh, this is a banger. And then the next song, oh man, this is good too. I was like, man, you guys got good taste. Who did this? Wait, who did this music?
Yeah.
This is
way to go, buddy.
So, all right. So you had left your previous place with the intention of like, all right, now's the time for me to start putting all of my attention towards building this.
Yep.
What year was this approximately?
I started building it in about March of 2021. So literally, still the whole mask thing. And it was crazy. And we should have been open earlier, but we kind of pushed it till the end of November because it got a little lighter and stuff like that. And I know that certain areas, like if you went to North Scottsdale, everywhere was packed.
Yeah.
Phoenix had some trickling coming back and stuff like that. So it was a little uphill battle at the beginning.
Sure.
Being new for one, and then for two, the limitations we still had. So if it was 2019, I think we would have hit massive stride right off the get-go. But from leaving my previous spot to doing this one, there was a bit of a lull where kind of, we tried to get that excitement back and, what we're creating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that amplifies the struggles of a new restaurant too, right? I mean, it's hard enough to open up a new place and get people to come. Like, so now, we got this. How about a global pandemic to throw at you?
Well, and also having a place that was 36 to, we ended up expanding to 65 seats to 140.
That's how many seats are in here.
We have 140. Yeah. So,
I see what you're saying. Like, you can only have that.
Yes.
Many.
Yeah. So it was better for how much limitations there were in that sense, but at the same time, trying to fill a 140 seat restaurant from day one.
Yeah.
We did great. I won't knock it. We did great. I just think if it was a year or two before that, it would have been a different trajectory for sure. In the beginning. Probably would have opened another restaurant that same year if it wasn't that pandemic time.
Sure. So how did so you found this place, and you already had the name, like you already had kind of the brand kind of built. I
knew the kind of food we wanted to do. I knew the kind of people we wanted to have. I knew the demographics.
What kind of food? Let's go back to that part. Like, what was the goal?
It was really trying to be a little edgy and eclectic. We've brought it back quite a bit.
Okay.
Because when you start looking at being in certain areas, if we were on Roosevelt, we could go, ape shit.
Yeah.
But being here in a neighborhood where it's a little blue collar, there's 200 firefighters that live in a 3-mile radius.
Wow, gotcha.
So it is more of a meat and potatoes kind of place. And we can get creative, but we noticed that the more we pushed out, we kind of limited the surplus of people. We were going for
close the door.
Yeah, we were closing the door. We were going for a certain demographic, and so we actually just opened it up. And the more places that we had visited, R&D and stuff, we just went, well, their doors are wide open. Why are we trying to leave just a little crack just to be cool?
Yeah.
Like, you can be cool and do something simple.
For sure.
So,
yeah.
And actually, if it's done right, I think it's even cooler. You can do just the most basic thing in the planet. And if it's done right with the right ingredients, I think it's even better than, having the 20-minute spiel about where they got these boysenberries.
Where you got this chili from.
This chili is 180 days. That's cool. But at the same time, I'm on a date. I want to just have something really great.
Right.
Yeah. And I give Charlene from F&B a lot of credit.
Yeah.
They are amazing. But I just went there recently. That's why I'm saying this. And everything was executed so great. There wasn't this long spiel. It's like, our food's great. Your entire experience is going to be spot on. And that's just one of those experiences. Glybon.
Yeah.
Another one. Oh my gosh. They are the epitome to me of the best service, best food, atmosphere. They've stayed true to exactly what they've wanted to do. And I worship those guys. Those guys are great.
That's a cool place. Dude.
Like the
spot is like when you're outside of it, you're like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Then you walk in, like, where am I? Like, this is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally like reaching through vines to open the door.
Right.
They have everything.
I think we learned that from Zinc, because you'd be in Zinc and you hang out there for an hour. It could be daytime or nighttime, and you walk out and you're like, I'm in the middle of a shopping mall.
Yeah.
I felt like I was on the coast, or
you're doing something right if the experience starts on the outside of your building.
Sure.
The experience starts right then and there. And I use that term experience because to me, an experience is more than just what you ordered to eat and what you ordered to drink and how it tasted, right?
Sure.
To me, the experience is like the music and what you were listening to, the hello, the warm hello you get from the hostess. I mean, even just as far as the host answering the phone and how they sound on the phone. I mean, you can tell when somebody's in a good mood or not on the phone.
Absolutely.
So to me, that creates that level of experience. And so Glybon, like you said, I mean, it has such from the step in the parking lot, it's tiny, and then you get to the front door and you can barely find it. I mean, you're just encouraging that experience even further.
Yeah. Well, even F&B, I made a reservation and I'm a nobody. And I walked in and the server goes, we saw on your reservations that you're in the industry. Here's a glass of champagne.
Right.
And I went,
you're winning.
You're winning. I will come back here anytime just for, just the little tiny things like that.
Yeah.
They're just so memorable and cool.
For sure.
That extra step that I think a lot of people lack because they're just, they're trying to do everything else. And it starts there.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you have this idea for, you got the brand, you've got the hip hop, you've got the location. What I mean, where do you go from there? Like, as far as like, how do you get people in the door?
I think it's a little bit of personality. And I think people are addicted to that. You know, have you ever been to a restaurant I hate because we're going backwards on what we said. They're a little rude, but they're spot on and you like it and you're still going to go. There's a bar you go to and you're just like, this bartender's the worst.
Oh,
but
sure.
I love this place and I love the location.
Well, I think it kind of goes one way or the other. Like, you can have great food and terrible service, or you can have great service and terrible food.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'd go to either, right? Like, because I go for the service, but I know the food's kind of crap.
Yeah.
Or I go for the food because the food's really good, but the service is like,
yeah,
You
I
know
have to
what you're
deal
in
with
for.
this. You know what I mean?
But I think that just to piggyback off that, I just feel like the brands that we're starting to build now with Born and Bred and stuff like that, I think this location, we went local. We were nominated. We got Best New Restaurant for Phoenix Magazine. We were nominated for Locavore Restaurant. We actually just won Locavore Restaurant this year, which is great.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We just love locals. We love local beer. We love local produce. We love local meats. Anything you can think of that we can buy that's local, we would choose local. So that's where Born and Bred kind of came in, because I'm a 5th generation native.
Yeah.
And so we have
Is it 5th generation?
5th generation.
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Almost. Yeah. It's crazy. There's pictures in our other room of my grandma and, the governor, and
that's cool.
But we wanted to piggyback off of that because I knew that Aftermath didn't really scream local. So Born and Bred was just like, okay, let's go back to our roots and we opened one up in downtown Chandler where I got my first skateboard and bomber jacket stolen in downtown Chandler in 8th grade, 10th grade, whatever it was. So it's like, we're going back to our roots. And, my family lived in Scottsdale. He grew up kind of in Scottsdale. So the Scottsdale location was a great same thing to piggyback off of where we kind of grew up.
Where is the Scottsdale location?
Lincoln and Scottsdale.
Yeah. Lincoln Scottsdale Road.
The old Humble Pie.
With
Okay.
the Houston's, Houston's has been there forever too.
Kind of across from Fat Ox.
Opposite side of the street, right next to the Hilton.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's more of a quaint, I think there's 80 seats inside, 70 seats. So it's more quaint and it's very vibey, really cool. And same thing, we kind of opened up right before summer.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's been fun. But other than that, it's going great. We're excited for that location and, for season to come and to get just even more people in the door and experience what we're doing.
So why open up a different concept rather than an Aftermath 2?
Well, I have a partner here that, not saying we didn't want him to jump along with us, but I think it was just with Mike coming on and some other partners and stuff, we wanted to kind of just take it another step. And,
gotcha.
We've got another concept we're going to do eventually in downtown Mill.
Okay.
And we're not going to do another Born and Bred. We're kind of piggyback off of the Born and Bred and kind of just keep.
I think what we're doing is more building a larger brand, and that Aftermath, Born and Bred. We always call it whatever the F.
You can say it. You can say it.
Oh, you can say it?
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. No, he can't say that.
You're like, whoa. Gotta edit that. Yeah, no,
edit that.
We went over that before.
We can edit that.
Let me get out of my way.
No.
We always say whatever the fuck, because we don't know what the next one's going to be. But, but we're putting all those into almost an umbrella so that okay, I've been to Born and Bred, I've been to Aftermath, I love their service, I love the food, regardless of what they open up, it's going to be good.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're trying to do, is not steer so far off the service and the food quality, just expand our uniqueness and concepts.
Yeah. And the brand's actually Aftermath Projects now.
Okay.
So it is kind of like all of them will be under the Aftermath Projects. So this is kind of the staple, the original, and we'll kind of just keep growing from there. But our signs say Born and Bred by Aftermath.
Okay.
So eventually if we do whatever the fuck, it'll be whatever the fuck
It's
by
so funny.
Aftermath.
We talk about it a lot.
Are you going to call it that?
It should be called that for how many times we say it in a day.
Yeah, we've talked about it so many times. It's like, I don't know what we're going to call it. We'll just call it whatever the fuck.
Yeah, whatever the fuck. Doesn't matter.
Well, the dudes from, I don't know if you know Disco Dragon, the guys at Disco Dragon, they have Fuck You Pay Me.
Yep.
Right? So,
wow. That's bold.
Well, I mean, it's the acronym for it or whatever the initials are, but I'm like, what is that? They're like, oh, it's Fuck You Pay Me. I'm like, wow. That's great.
Brilliant. I know. And there's a small demographic that just goes like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But for us, I'm like, oh, it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Well, they said too, they're like Killer Whale Sex Club and all that stuff. They're like, we know that we're isolating, but they're not the demographic for what we're trying to do.
Yep.
Like if you don't like the name Killer Whale Sex Club, you're not going to come in this dark, loud bar with I don't know how many, he said like subwoofers all through the place.
Oh yeah, it's wild.
But that's the whole point. Like you're not our clientele anyways.
Yeah.
Like so we're not worried if we're not. And that's not to sound arrogant. I'm not trying to sound that way, but like you're building your business for specific people,
100%.
right? Like that's a good strategy. Like,
Yeah.
it really is.
Well, shout out to Terry from Zinc. The best phrase he ever said was, "I'll lose 10% of my clientele to keep the 90."
Sure.
That's
great.
exactly the mindset we actually have too. We're going to get bad Yelps. Shout out to the Yelpers.
Yeah.
We're going to start. Yeah. we have an idea.
We've got a good idea.
We got a good idea with our Yelps.
For the Yelps.
We're actually going to advertise those. It's going to be kind of funny.
Oh,
So
Can we could tell them.
I think someone will
it's
steal it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
wait.
All right,
Good call.
Yeah.
Wait till it goes live.
Just wait till it goes live.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Let us
So,
know. We'll share that on our shit too. And
Oh. It's I think more people will do that because as much as you want to take the criticism and stuff like that, at the same time, it's like, if it wasn't for you, just don't come back.
Yeah.
You don't
For
need
sure.
to shit on everything.
Right.
And I've had a million better burgers. Guess what? I probably have too.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to shit on
We didn't say
somebody's.
this was the bet. Like, what do you like?
Yeah.
Yeah. People just are just looking for something
I
to
know.
bitch about.
Yeah.
But
And I'm glad they have a platform. It's cool that we have a voice that we could say what we want. It's just like,
You should have to pay for it. Per Yelp review, you should have to pay
ooh,
to write your own review.
I like
you
that.
hear that, Yelp?
Right?
Yeah. Boom,
Because
right there.
there's a money market, like, because if it's not worth Yelping, then you won't pay for it.
Sure.
Right.
Like you won't
Yeah.
pay the fee that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I think it should work.
Yeah.
I always said with beer, because my background is craft beer, and you have Untapped, and all these people are like, "Oh, dude, this beer is horrible. It was so hoppy," and I was like, "Dude, it's a double IPA." So I feel you should have to take like a 5-question quiz.
Are
Like,
you Cicerone?
I'm like the level 1, like certified
cool.
beer server. Yeah,
that's great.
Oh, wow.
She's the badass. Like
Yeah.
she is.
Oh, really?
Level 8.
No
like,
way.
Jedi. Yeah.
that's
Jedi. Yeah. She's like, I can smell it from here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she knows her shit. She
That's
knows
cool.
her. Yeah, I'm
That's
more of
awesome.
a cat. I was more of a. I stopped drinking in February. I always tell people I went pro early and I retired. 'Cause
Wow.
I did it. I
I'm
did
stealing
it.
that.
Pro early. Yeah. That's Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
You quit drinking too?
January.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Cold
February.
turkey. Just
Yeah.
and haven't wanted to since.
That's dude. Me too. My wife and I both like. She. I don't know. Maybe a few months before, she was like, "Do you think we'll ever not drink?" I'm like, probably not. Like, I don't think so. And then it's just I got sick for like a week, just flu or whatever. And then like so it had been 2 weeks since I last drank, which
Right.
was all forever for me.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, people say like after 30 days you feel better. So I'm like, I'm gonna hit 30 days. Then I hit 30 days, and I was like, dude, like I feel great. I could sleep better. I was habits that I wanted to start implementing. I'm starting to implement them. So I'm like, dude, So yeah,
Congrats. That's
thanks,
cool.
man. You
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the qualifying to be able to review something like, all right, dude, what do you know?
Right.
Like, what do you know? Like,
Yeah.
or how many you're only allowed 10 bad
Right,
reviews per year.
Right.
Like you already hit your 10.
Yeah.
And
You
it's
gotta
March.
pick your battles.
Yeah.
Well, then we have the other extreme where we'll get an email that's 5 pages long
Oh,
explaining
jeez.
everything about our restaurant. And we're just like,
About how you could do things.
oh
better
yeah.
and
And I'm
different
like,
and-
hey, open a restaurant.
Mm.
yeah, exactly.
It's easy.
I'll tell you how to do it. Come in. I'll buy you a
Yeah,
drink.
I'll buy you a drink and I'll give you 10 minutes and you'll walk out going, I'm never opening a restaurant in my life.
So
funny.
all right. So, what's next? What's next for you guys? I mean, you've got Aftermath is rolling. Actually, you know what? We haven't even really talked about the food much. So, like, we talked about the burger. Like, I'm just gloating over this burger that I still haven't had. Right. I
Mhm.
don't think I've ever talked about a food thing as much as I've talked about your guys' burger without ever having it. I just tell everybody,
That's
I'm like,
great
dude,
though.
like,
Just
hey, where
sight
should we
on
go?
scene. You're like, that looks good. I like that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just beautiful. So what are some of the highlights of like I guess let's say this, like if you guys are eating here, what are you guys eating?
Well, our menu changes quite a bit. I know we have a lot of staples, but our pastas we do in
Yeah,
house.
the pastas are great.
I mean, everything's from scratch. It's just there's really nothing. I mean, our Brussels sprouts we
I
have.
was gonna say the Brussels.
Yeah.
Brussels
killer.
are amazing, but we take different techniques. I think when we opened, we kind of had a lot of French flair because all of us came from Zinc,
Sure.
and now we have a kimchi fried rice short rib dish that's more different nationality and specific, not specific. So I like that we're able to do like a pasta and have like a Korean dish and then have something super American. It's just I like that flexibility. Then it also hurts us sometimes because we've talked about not having an identity sometimes where like, oh, we're going to go here. It's Southern Italian. It's amazing.
Oh, sure.
You know, then dang, like, what do they have? And you're like, oh, they kind of got a lot of everything.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that freedom, but also it kind of, when you ask some people, are just like, yeah, I don't really know what they are.
Yeah.
It's just a cool place. And it's like, yeah, well, we'll start there.
Yeah. I mean, I always like to think there's a little bit for everybody, you know? So like if you wanted a burger, we have that.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go a little fancier, you know, we have you covered too. So it's, I don't know. I like the fact that we have such great options, and it's almost like the best hits of every type of dish. Your scallop dish, I think we have the best scallop dish.
Yeah.
Like if
I agree,
you know, like our fish, our steak and free, like,
yeah. And not trying to go too far. Cause like I said, we could do these elaborate steak dishes, but we're not a steakhouse and people do just want meat and potatoes. I hate to say that like that, but steak frites are always going to be popular. Look around town. Everybody has a steak frites. It's just trying to use the right product. Either it's Meat by Lens or Agridine or whoever, and just going, all right, difference between our steaks and that is we use street frites and we use, you know, Meats by Lens or whoever. And I think that's where people start to see like, oh, okay, the quality's there. So even though it's not an au poivre sauce or a, you know, whatever, you know, it can be how we want it to be for sure.
When I feel like a lot of the places that are starting to really kind of get that notoriety, or not notoriety, but like the, you know, get popular and really have this great following. It is not a defined style, right? It's not like, you know, it's not, oh, this is Italian or this is Mexican or whatever. Like, you know, I always think of like Dom, you know, Hush Public House, which you know, Dom, right?
Yep.
You work with, I mean, yeah, Dom. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were partners.
His place was, you know, it's a range of things, right? But it's just like when people say, oh, what is that? I'm like, it's fucking great food and great cocktails.
Yep.
Like that's what it is, you know?
Yep.
And
he's one of the best of the best. I'll always say that. I just watched his, he was on Diners, Drive-Ins and Dives, whatever.
Yeah.
I watched it just recently and I was just like, yeah, man, he's the military background and just the love that he has.
Dom and I were high school buddies.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so
okay. Yeah.
I've known Dom for forever.
Dom's awesome. Like he's been a huge supporter of us from day one. I mean, he's a straight shooter. I mean, he's just, you know, and there's not many people who physically intimidate me because I'm a big dude, but I'm like, Jesus, dude, like you're a big dude.
Yeah.
You are
built-in security.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But Jeff Krause, I remember Jeff Krause telling me, he's like, dude, I've never seen anybody move in the kitchen the way he does.
For a big guy,
so graceful, and he's just like, he's just so
technique.
but yeah.
And shout out to Matt Carter because I know that he learned a lot of that stuff along the way, but shout out to Rochelle and CJ and Hussein, all these guys that have run through Zinc. They all have great technique, and it starts, you know, with even just knowing how to cook French for one. You can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it translates into Italian. It translates into sauces and hot sauce. Anything you can think of. I think that they all got the best training known to man. So, and same with the front of the house. Half of our staff that we've worked with at Zinc are business owners and stuff now because we had some of the best, you know, tools in front of us as well, as far as experience and drive and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
too.
and to be honest, now with all the years that I've been a part of restaurants, the staff we have, I mean, some of the best people I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
And I tell them all the time, I don't think they really believe me because I say it a lot, but like they are truly some of the best, best people I've been around. And
so good that we would choose not to get paid to keep them. Like that's how,
I mean,
that's
how
great they are.
They are unbelievable. Like all of our restaurants have such good kitchen staff. I mean, front of the house too, don't get me wrong, but that kitchen staff, it's just, I use the word refreshing. It's refreshing to be around professionals that, if you've been around a restaurant long enough, if somebody makes a modification to a dish, sometimes you get chefs that are like throw their hands up in the air and they don't want to do it. And these guys are like, they take it as a challenge and how much better they can make the dish with that mod. It's like, man, you guys are great. That's so nice to see.
Yeah.
Or you can walk in, there's only 6 people when you first open and they're communicating and working as if it's a Friday night with 250 people. And you go, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
good
cool.
attitudes.
Sitting in the office, just kind of going, love this.
Yeah,
it's great. Turn around and film this.
It's really nice. So as much credit as I want to give the rest of the people, I think our kitchen, man. Yeah. And that's not to fluff up our it's the truth.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. That's great that you tell them too.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's something that, you know, it really sticks with people, right? Like it really does. You know, you said you hope, you know, that they don't think that you're just saying it. But I think after enough times, you
well,
wouldn't say it.
I think he would admit as much as I will. I feel like now that we're in the position of ownership, I'm going to do everything, all the good stuff that the owners that I used to work for did, and not do any of the bad things that they used to do to us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd rather just always go above and beyond, tell them, thank you. You guys are doing great. Like maybe because I never got a lot of that. And I just felt like that's it. I want to treat them the way that I would have wanted to be treated. So
I just had a memory of working and being so slammed at zinc and somebody going, what are you going to do with your life? How much longer are you going to work here? And it's like, oh my gosh. Rather than being like, thank you so much, 15 years
you're
in,
doing
thank
great.
you. Yeah.
You're doing so great.
But that was the charm of that place too.
Sure.
So they loved you down deep, but yeah, it was funny.
What the fuck are you doing, man?
No,
Yeah.
the ownership. ownership. telling
Yeah,
us
Terry,
that.
my mentor. Yeah. One day he'd just be, lies a feather, just
Hmm.
loving you and thank you so much. And here's a, $200 tip for my one glass of wine. And the next day, just same thing. What are you doing here? What are you doing with your life? How old are
Why are
you?
you working here?
Yeah. How much longer are you working here? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, guys, thanks for making the time. Thanks for having us in. The Brussels sprouts, that now my wife's in, so we got to come here for dinner one night. Yeah, she loves Brussels sprouts, and I got to get that burger. So
The burger for sure. And some, you forgot. Okay. We don't have any maca or non-alcoholic beers right now, I don't think, besides Lost Holler or something like that. So there's something there for
that's
you.
right, dude. I'm
He's not drinking.
Yeah, no, well,
That's what I
non-alcoholic.
said.
I was like, yeah, we got something for you.
But I like dessert. I like dessert too.
Oh,
I like mocktails. I like
key lime bar,
yeah.
bread pudding we got here. Just, oh gosh,
All right, guys. I'll be back soon.
for sure.
Guys, thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.